recall that ASUU had on Monday, February 14, 2022, declared a national strike, thereby grounding academic activities in federal universities and some state-owned universities across the country. Some branches of the Academic Staff Union of the universities in state-owned universities have vowed to remain on strike following the failure of the federal government to successfully negotiate with the national body of the union. Chairpersons of ASUU in the affected state universities who spoke in separate interviews are calling for the suspension of the strike in state-owned universities. We have in the studio Dr. Farouk Bibi Farouk, former national youth leader of the PDP and one-time commissioner of lands in Kano State. He's currently a lecturer on political economy and development studies at the University of Abuja. It's a pleasure to have you, Doc.
Pleasure.
Looking young as always.
Thank you.
And we also have in the studio Mohamed Ahmed Marafa, Secretary General of the West African Youth Congress. It's a pleasure to have you join us this morning. Doctor, I know we had this conversation a couple of times. It seemed to be, we make one progress today and we take 10 steps back after such negotiation. What exactly is the problem? The government is saying they've met all your requirements, you have agreed on all of them, except the no work, no pay service. And you have returned to say through your national president that that is not correct, that even the commitment they've made is not cash back. You have not seen any commitment, concrete commitments on ground, and it's not just about the no work, no pay agreement. What exactly is the situation as at now?
Okay, thank you very much. I will not speak on behalf of ASUU because I'm not mandated to speak on behalf of ASUU. But the truth of the matter is the government is completely insincere and uninterested in the development of education. Tertiary education, that is federal government responsibility. You could accuse other level of governments of not being interested in primary school and secondary school education. That has come up now to tertiary education. Now, the statement by the minister is very insincere, I'm sorry to say, because ASUU does not accept terms in the presence of a minister at the negotiation tables. They collect terms and go back to discuss across down to the state university congresses and bring back results. So the fact that he had said that we have agreed on everything they have accepted until this is totally not correct. Nobody in ASUU would believe him, because had they agreed, they would have brought those terms down to us for the congresses to deliberate. I think the government is in a situation where, or the entire system is in a situation where I think, personally, they don't see the value of education anymore. And I don't blame them too much, because we have taken education, particularly tertiary education, on a wrong mode, entirely. You see, a university is supposed to be a place for research, for thinkers. Tertiary education, divide them into two: university, polytechnic. The other ones are to prepare you, give you basic literacy and prepare you to come to that level. When you come to the university, you're supposed to be a thinker. Now, in Nigerian university and most African universities, nobody uptakes your thinking. The government does not even want you to think, because when you think, what you bring out is not in their interest. The private sector does not want you to think, because when you think, what you bring out is not in their interest. The private sector wants to import. Every private sector you see, there is nobody that is doing 100% innovative things that are indigenous. So they prefer to do that. Government, no policy is 100% indigenous, made by Nigerians in universities. They want to go to IMF, they want to go to British Council or other councils and collect their directives.
Before you move on, one of today we are seeing in the papers the United Nations saying to the FG that they have to increase education budget to 20% if they must meet the SDG goals by 2030. We know in countries like Ghana, Rwanda, and the rest, they are doing anywhere between 15 and 20% already allocation to education. And we know members of your union are saying if you could even properly manage the amounts you allocate to school feeding program, and I wonder how many schools they are feeding, by the way, and the allocations to trader money or what have you, that they should have been able to meet. These are as alternative to where to find the funders that government said are not available. My question really is, in the face of the dwindling economic hardship in the country, and part of the figures I'm sure you're quite familiar with, do you think the government have the source of funding? Because the school feeding program or the trader money in their own rights are also important, because they are targeted at legitimate citizens of this country.
I think every serious government cannot lack funds for three important things: security, health, and education. The future of the nation, the future of those people is in education. Their present welfare is in the security and their health. If you can't do that, you don't have any business managing the nation. That's my answer. You can't. If you have monies for any other thing, for subsidy in any other area, you cannot say you can't have the resources to fund you. What you are saying is you don't want a future. Because you are not investing in the people you are seeing here. You are investing in the nation the next 10 years, the next 50 years, the next 100 years. You are investing in your nation. Those people are creating those that will handle the nation in the future. If you say you can't do that, then you are saying that you are not interested in that nation.
Right. So let's look at this from the perspective of the youth now. You are in the middle of all this. Federal government on one side, ASUU on one side, and students have been out of school for 6 months. Demands have been made and negotiations are currently going on. So where do you, the youth now, the students, where do you stand in all this? Do you have any measures that you can actually take to be able to speed up this process or this negotiation, or have any influence whatsoever in the decisions that are actually coming out of this thing, and when these decisions can actually be made? Because at the end of the day, it's the students that matter, I think.
Yes.
Is there any way you can be able to influence one way or the other?
Actually, let me start by this. I didn't think there is still a negotiation that is still going on, because already you had from someone that is a member that they just send them a paper to deliberate on that, which does mean there is no negotiation. When I'm negotiating with you, we'll come at a table, talk and discuss and see how far will this thing work out for us. Will this thing help the country or the nation? Will this thing help us throughout not allowing ourselves to be a victim of making our children to be out of school, just seated at home doing nothing? So nothing has been done about that. It's just that I think the ministry just sat and discussed what they feel like is okay to them and send it. And the problem, what I want to start, I want to, if I will be opportune to meet the Mr. President, I will tell him to either him himself to the table of the negotiation, or change those that are on the table, or bring those that are supposed to be on that table. You can't just be a minister that is always writing on different papers, telling the world that let's do this, criticizing other government, and today you are at the seat and doing nothing to change the narrative or to change how it is going to work. We have already changed, allow ASUU problem to be, ASUU strike to be a generational problem. And it is not only affecting the lecturers, but we are the primary critical stakeholders at the center.
I would like you to hold your thought on that. Well, I come in with this question. The impression by some Nigerians is that even the students themselves have been too docile for comfort. You seem to be enjoying the stay at home.
Why?
Because I will bring you to, yes, I'll bring you to that. Just hold your thoughts so that I'm able to put out the questions correctly. Yeah? From the history of this country in the time past, the government don't have to do this much before the students hit the streets to demand for their right.
Have you forgotten the shows some students at Federal Secretariat with their cylinder gas pots and whatsoever, with their blanket and whatsoever?
So my question really is that enough? We know you have had casualty. Should that have been enough for you to just go back and sit back? Actually, what else can you possibly do to at least show this government that you should be on their priority list? That's my question, really.
Actually, like I said, this already the system have took ASUU strike to be a generational problem, whereby this government will come and go and left this government. The only thing that you'll be seeing out that they have signed an MOU, this blah blah blah. So the way forward is this: we will continue praying. That's the only way forward we have, because we have already elapsed all the things that we are supposed to do. We have went for the protest, we have met with them, we have sat, we have discussed so many times. So, and it didn't work out. But the only thing that we should either serve as an independent spokespersons to ASUU, trying to see that we are putting pressure on the government to see that they have came back or put all the necessary destiny on the table to make sure that this strike have ended.
Doctor, let me ask you this question. As someone in the inner circle, just like we pointed out earlier, I mean, like the students, they are in the middle of all this. You have ASUU on one side, the federal government on one side. So when these negotiations or non-negotiations are going on with all this back and forth, is there any consultation between ASUU and the students? Has anybody taken time to ask them how are you faring, or what do you want, or how are things going on with you? Because they are in the middle of all this.
Yes, let me put it this way. I understand the position of the students. If you are in a conflict within your family, the last people that will talk are the children, actually. So maybe it has not reached that level.
Okay.
But the entire struggle of ASUU, if you put ASUU welfare in that demand, it's not up to 20%. It's about the students. We know the quality of students we are bringing out. We know why the quality is low. You want a good product, I always say. Now, if you want a good product, you are competing with everybody in the world to get that good product. When I was in the university, there is no department I know that does not have foreign lecturers. They come because for two things. They add to their own knowledge. There is something to learn more. They expand their own scope. And we also learn from them. They want to expand, they also reach out in studentship internationally. Some of them I still know. Some have died, some are as old men. But I still maintain that quota. Lecturers do it all over the world. You are competing with everybody. I don't think there is one foreign lecturer in a Nigerian-funded university today. That means the students cannot benefit from what we benefited at that time. So it's if I say, let's put it this way. If somebody is bringing a good product and you want a good product, and the person working, you give him 5% of what you are giving those who are bringing good products, 5% of the facilities for those good products, and 500% of the work burden, how do you expect to get a good product?
So, Doctor,
it's about the students, actually.
Doctor, still staying with you, we've seen the Parents Teachers Association trying to intervene, and in fact, offering to come up with a 10,000 naira contribution per child, you know, to help to ameliorate the quest for more funding. Do you think this is something that is sustainable? I mean, is this something you are considering? They've asked for a one-on-one meeting with the president.
Honestly, to me, it says a lot. The other time, somebody was saying he would fund ASUU with a 1 billion, 1 point something, he would do a donation. It says a lot. What it says is that the Nigerian people cannot ask their government to give them good education. Now, the options are clear. Either government funds by taxing you, by using your resources that they are selling abroad and your oil or anything, or they ask you to pay. Government does not want to ask parents to pay. Parents do not want to pay because the amount is too much. What is minimum wage, for example? It will take you about 600,000 naira to go through a semester in a government setting, not in a private sector setting. They're paying more than that in secondary schools, but the very few, 2%, 1%. So now if you want education, especially as a tertiary level, where you want to create thinkers, thinkers do not come because they are rich. Thinkers come because God has given them certain talents. And what you want to do is to help them express those talents. In the university, like lecturing is not teaching. It's helping somebody find a way to think. That's what you are helping people do. So they think that it's the work level, what you are teaching them yesterday. No, you are trying to expose them to things that will make them any day in their lives for the rest of their life to question things and find answers to them. So if now parents say, we're getting together, my only advice to parents, okay, let every father, whether he has a child or not, go to a bank and create an account where some these billions or trillions that we're asking for will be put, and then ASUU should be getting, and ASUU is taking just about 3% to 5% of what they are asking in value. Then let them go and build the infrastructure and forget about government, because they cannot tell government to do. Because we misunderstand what government is. We even misunderstand what this democratic process. We think that your relationship with government is just once in 4 years when you are voting. No. That is when democracy says you can change somebody if you don't like him, or somebody has to go constitutionally or by law, so you have to come and bring somebody. Your relationship with government is a daily affair. If something happens tomorrow that you don't like, you tell government you don't like. Those powers were given to government gradually when democracy was started. Those who started democracy were debating on everything, plebiscite, referendum every day. So it's just for numbers that are increasing that people started to say, okay, you have other means of bringing in your views. Nigerians believe they can't confront a government and tell them this is what we want. It's a government that should tell Nigerians.
Thank you, Doctor. Marafa, in 30 seconds, I would like to get what you want to see between ASUU and government in the next 1 week. 30 seconds, please. We are rounding up.
In 30 seconds, let the government clear the demand of the ASUU, and let the government know that the poor masses, children are at home. We want to go back to school.
Interesting end to what has been a very interesting conversation this morning. We've been talking with a lecturer on political economy and development studies at the University of Abuja, Dr. Farouk. It's a pleasure to have had you in the studio as always. And Marafa, it's also a pleasure to have had you provide your perspective on this conversation.